Lara had always believed that love was meant to be simple, that the vows she and David exchanged under the golden sunset were unbreakable. Their home smelled of fresh coffee and lavender, their laughter echoing off the walls like music. Two outsiders, they were perfect, the kind of couple whose happiness seemed untouchable. Yet, that evening, Lara felt an unease she couldn't explain, a strange chill creeping along her spine as she ascended the attic stairs. The attic had always been a forgotten place, filled with boxes of memories, old photographs, and dusty trinkets. Tonight, curiosity and an inexplicable pull led her there. Her fingers traced the edges of cardboard boxes, lifting each lid slowly as though the past itself were holding its breath. Then she found a photograph slipped between the pages of an old travel journal. It was from their honeymoon. It's taken on the cliffs overlooking the sea. David's smile radiated warmth, the sun catching in his eyes, his arm protectively around Lara. But something felt wrong. She turned it over, her nails scraping the back, and froze. There, written faintly in pencil, was a date years earlier than she remembered, and a name she did not recognize. Her heart raced. A name, a date. The handwriting wasn't David's usual careful script. Fear curled in her stomach, but beneath it, hope flickered like a candle in a storm. Maybe it was nothing, a friend, a coincidence, a forgotten note. But she could not ignore it. The photograph seemed to pulse in her hands, as if it were alive, holding secrets meant to be discovered. That night the house was quiet, the ticking of the clock unusually loud. David was asleep, oblivious to the storm brewing in Lara's mind. She sat at the study desk, papers scattered around her, the photograph placed carefully in front of her like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Each letter, each faint pencil mark, became a clue. Questions swirled relentlessly. Who was her? Why did this date matter? And most importantly, why had David never mentioned it? Unable to resist, Lara searched through the drawers, rifling through old letters, invoices, and diaries. Her hands trembled as she opened a small leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age. Her eyes widened when she found an entry that corresponded to the date on the photograph. "I can't tell Lara yet. She must never know about her," the words read. They were written in David's familiar hand, but the sentence was heavy, almost suffocating in its secrecy. Lara's chest tightened, each breath sharp and shallow. Her mind raced with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. Had he hidden a betrayal? A love she didn't know about? Or worse, something dangerous that she could not yet imagine? Tears stung her eyes, but beneath the fear, a flicker of hope persisted. Hope that the truth, no matter how dark, could be confronted. Hope that her love for David and his for her could survive whatever secret had been buried in the folds of time. She realized then that the photograph wasn't just a memory, it was a message. It's a key to something larger, something that could change everything they had built together. Lara's resolve hardened. She would uncover the truth, no matter how painful, because love, real love, demanded courage. The attic seemed darker now, shadows stretching like fingers toward her, but she did not retreat. Her heartbeat synced with the rhythm of discovery. Every thump, a reminder that life and love were fragile and that one hidden secret could tip the balance forever. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "Whatever happens, don't stop searching. The answer is closer than you think." Asterisk the next morning. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, painting the bedroom in golden hues. David stirred beside her, still half asleep, unaware of the storm raging in Lara's mind. She forced a smile, but it was brittle, a fragile mask over the anxiety and fear that clung to her like a second skin. Every glance at him was now tinged with suspicion and curiosity, a question she could not yet voice. After breakfast, she returned to the attic, drawn by an invisible force that demanded answers. The photograph lay where she had left it, the date and the name mocking her uncertainty. Her hands shook as she traced the pencil marks again. They were subtle, almost hesitant, but the meaning felt heavy, urgent. Someone, or something, had left a message for her to find. Determined to uncover it, Lara returned to David's study. The room smelled faintly of old paper and coffee, a comforting scent that now felt tainted by secrets. She sifted through more drawers, more journals, but paused when she noticed a small envelope tucked under a pile of receipts. It was unmarked, fragile, and yellowed with age. With a deep breath, she unfolded it and discovered a letter. The handwriting was unfamiliar, flowing and delicate, and the words inside made her stomach twist. "The past cannot touch her, but she must know," it read. "Only in time will the truth reveal itself. Protect her, but do not hide forever." Her mind spun. Protect her? Who was this her, and why had David felt the need to shield someone from her knowledge? Panic clawed at her chest, but beneath it, hope glimmered faintly. Maybe David's silence was not betrayal, it was caution. A shield to safeguard someone they both cared about, unable to stay still. Lara flipped through David's old journal again, scanning every page with frantic eyes. And then she found it. An entry that froze her blood. It matched the date on the photograph exactly. The words were careful, almost painfully deliberate. I wish she never knew about her. It would destroy everything if she found out. But she must never be hurt. I will carry this alone and hope it never reaches her. 1,000 questions collided in her mind. Yet amidst the chaos, one thought anchored her. David had not betrayed her. He had been protecting her, protecting someone, and in doing so, he had shouldered a secret heavier than any she could imagine. The fear that had been suffocating her began to loosen, replaced by a cautious hope. Perhaps love could survive even this. But the photograph continued to call to her. Something was hidden in plain sight, a detail she had not noticed before. She leaned closer, squinting at the image. Her eyes caught a faint mark etched into the corner of the photo, a symbol so subtle that she almost missed it. It seemed deliberate, like a code meant only for someone who knew how to see it. Her pulse quickened. The symbol, the letter, the diary, entries, they were all pieces of a puzzle. And she held the first fragment in her hands. A surge of determination filled her. She would uncover the truth. She had to. For David, for herself, and for the fragile hope that had begun to bloom in her heart amidst the shadows of doubt. She carefully placed the photograph and letter into her bag, her mind racing with plans. Whoever had sent the message or left the mark was counting on her to notice. And she would. Lara knew the journey ahead would be dangerous, emotionally draining, and filled with uncertainties. But she would not falter. As she glanced back toward the staircase, a chill ran down her spine. The house felt suddenly alive, as though it were watching her, waiting. She swallowed hard, gripping the bag tightly. This was only the beginning. The secret was no longer hidden. And hope, fragile and flickering, was the only light she could follow through the darkness. Lara could hardly sleep that night. The photograph, the letter, the hidden symbol all swirled in her mind like a storm she could not escape. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind outside felt like a warning. Yet amidst the fear, a stubborn hope burned, the hope that uncovering the secret would not destroy her marriage, that it might even bring them closer. The next morning she confronted David. She had rehearsed her words countless times, imagining a calm conversation where the truth would surface gently. But when she saw him in the kitchen, his hair messy, eyes soft with sleep, every carefully planned word dissolved into raw emotion. "David," she began, voice trembling, "I found something." "Something you've been hiding?" He froze. A flicker of fear crossed his face, then quickly morphed into resignation. "Lara, I know," she interrupted, desperation and anger mingling. "Don't lie to me. I saw the photograph. I read your journal. I know there's someone from your past." David's shoulders slumped. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it as if weighing every possible word. Lara's heart pounded, a mix of dread and hope. Maybe this confrontation would bring clarity. Maybe this was the moment they could face the truth together. But one impulsive mistake shattered the fragile hope. In her fear and frustration, she accused him of betrayal, of hiding a lover from her. The words slipped out before she could stop them, sharp and cold. "How could you do this to me? To us?" David's eyes widened, hurt and shock etching his features. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away, tears spilling freely. "I trusted you." I trusted everything you said." Her voice echoed through the house, and the reality of what she had done began to sink in. This was not the confrontation that would lead to truth. It was a wound inflicted in haste and fueled by fear. David didn't answer immediately. He simply stared at her, the weight of years of love colliding with the sting of accusation. Lara felt her chest tighten, the hope she had clung to, slipping away like sand through her fingers. Finally he spoke, his voice quiet but firm. "Lara, you don't understand. I wasn't hiding betrayal. I was protecting you. And now you've made the mistake that could destroy everything." Her stomach churned. The realization struck like lightning her impulsive accusation. Her refusal to wait for explanation had broken the fragile trust between them. She had inflicted the first real crack in the foundation of their love. Her hands shook, her vision blurred with tears, but within the fear, a spark of hope remained. She could still make this right, but only if she could act fast, before she could respond. Her phone buzzed with a notification. An image appeared, the photograph again, accompanied by a message in unfamiliar handwriting. "One mistake can change everything. Protect him before it's too late." Lara's heart skipped a beat. The secret was not just about the past. It was dangerous. Someone was watching. Someone knew about the photograph, about David, and perhaps about her mistake. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her, but beneath it, hope persisted. She could correct her error. She had to. With trembling hands, she grabbed her coat and bag. She couldn't waste another moment. The clock was ticking, and the first mistake had already set events in motion that could spiral beyond control. Lorraine's heart pounded with fear, but she clenched her jaw. This was her chance to save what she had almost destroyed. And deep down, beneath the fear and regret, a quiet voice whispered, "The truth will be revealed. But only if you were brave enough to face it." Lara drove through the quiet streets, her mind a storm of fear, guilt, and determination. Every red light felt like a countdown. Every shadow seemed to stretch toward her, warning of danger. The photograph and the mysterious message burned in her bag, like a secret too heavy to carry. She had made a mistake, one impulsive accusation that had fractured the fragile trust between her and David. And now she feared the consequences were far greater than she had imagined. When she returned home, the house was unnervingly silent. The morning sunlight spilled across the kitchen floor, but there was no sign of David. A pang of dread shot through her chest. He had left her worse. Someone had taken him. Her pulse quickened as she scanned the room, her eyes catching a glint of paper on the kitchen table. It was another photograph. Fresh. Recent. The same cliffs from the honeymoon. But this time, the image was different. David was standing alone, his expression tense, eyes darting as if he were being watched. And etched in the corner, the same faint symbol she had noticed before. Beneath the photograph was a note, written in shaky, hurried handwriting. "Your mistake set it in motion. Find him before it's too late, or you will lose him forever." Her hands trembled as she reread the words. Fear clawed at her chest, but within it, a thread of hope persisted. David wasn't gonna, he was alive, and someone had left this clue specifically for her. She could still save him. But the realization that her impulsive actions had put him in danger was almost unbearable. She had broken the unspoken promise of trust, and now she had to fix it. Lara's mind raced as she pieced together the puzzle. The diary entries, the letter, the photographs, they were all part of a carefully hidden truth. David's silence had not been betrayal. It had been protection. But her mistake had triggered a chain of events she did not fully understand. Someone from his past, or perhaps someone connected to the hidden message, was involved. Someone who now knew she had discovered the secret, determined not to waste another moment. She grabbed the bag with the photograph and letter double-checked, the address scribbled in the corner of the last image, and headed toward the outskirts of town. Her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Each passing mile tightened the knot in her stomach, but the hope of finding David kept her moving. She could undo this, she told herself. She had to. Arriving at the location, an old, abandoned cabin at the edge of the woods, Lara's instincts screamed danger. The trees loomed overhead like silent sentinels, shadows flickering across the ground. She stepped cautiously, every crunch of gravel underfoot echoing in the stillness. She felt the weight of her mistake pressing on her chest, but also a strange resolve. This was her chance to prove her love, to reclaim trust, and to face the consequences of her impulsive actions head dash on. As she approached the cabin door, it creaked open on its own, revealing darkness inside. The air smelled of damp wood and dust. Her breath caught in her throat as she stepped inside, the photograph clutched tightly in her hand. Somewhere in the shadows, a presence waited. Lara didn't know if it was friend or foe, but she refused to let fear stop her now. A faint sound, a whisper, a movement echoed through the room. Lara's heart thumped violently. She had come this far, and there was no turning back. The truth was here, somewhere in the darkness, waiting to be revealed. And though the path ahead was uncertain, it burned brighter than her fear. Somewhere beyond the shadows, she knew David was alive, and Lara would not leave without him. Lara's pulse raced as she stepped deeper into the cabin, her eyes straining to pierce the darkness. Shadows shifted along the walls, as if the room itself were alive, breathing. Every instinct screamed for her to turn back, yet hope propelled her forward. David was here somewhere, and she could feel it. Tether pulling her through the fear. Her hand grazed a dusty table, and she froze. A photograph lay there new, unlike the others. This one showed David at the edge of a forest, tense, almost panicked. And beside him, a faint figure blurred in the background. Her breath caught. The same symbol etched in the corner glowed faintly under the dim light filtering through the cracked roof. Someone had been tracking him, following him, and now she knew why he had kept the secret hidden all these years. David? Her voice trembled, echoing through the room. No answer. Only the soft creak of the floorboards in response. She scanned the cabin, heart hammering. Then she saw it. A hidden door behind an old wardrobe, partially ajar. With shaking hands, she pushed it open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. The air smelled of damp earth and something metallic. Fear gripped her, but hope burned brighter. David had to be down there. Stepping cautiously, Lara descended. Each step seemed to echo like a drumbeat in her chest. At the bottom, she found a small, dimly lit room. And there he was. David, tied to a chair, bruised but conscious, eyes wide with recognition as he saw her. Relief and guilt collided in her chest. Lara, he whispered, voice hoarse, you shouldn't have come. I had to, she said, her own voice trembling. I made a mistake, David. I accused you. I thought you betrayed me. I was wrong. Please, let me fix this. We can fix this. He tried to smile, but it faltered. It's not that simple, he said. The truth. You don't know the full story yet. This, he gestured at the cabin, at the faint shadows lurking beyond the corners. This is why I hid everything. My past. It's dangerous. And now, because of your mistake, it's here. It's real. Lara's stomach dropped. Her impulsive words had triggered this. Her mistake had put him in danger, but she refused to surrender to despair. I can help, she said, determination hardening in her voice. Tell me what to do. We can get through this together. David's eyes softened. For a moment, hope flickered in the dark room, fragile but alive. He nodded slowly. The person you saw in the photograph, it's someone from my past. Obsessed. They've been planning this for years. And now, they know we're onto them. Before Lara could respond, a sudden noise echoed from above the sound of someone descending the staircase. The shadowy figure she had glimpsed in the photograph stepped into the doorway. The faint light revealed a face she recognized from the old letterer figure from David's past. Eyes cold, a malicious smile twisting their features. Lara's heart raced. She clutched David's hand, her hope now a weapon against fear. They had only moments, and every second counted. Somehow, they would have to outsmart this person. Somehow, they would survive. The figure took a step forward. You should have stayed out of this, the voice hissed, sending chills down Lara's spine. David whispered, barely audible, hold on. We can do this. Together. Lara's eyes met his, and despite the terror, hope surged through her like a beacon. They weren't defeated yet. Not now. Not ever. And just as the figure reached for them, a sudden crash echoed from behind the hidden door had slammed shut, trapping the intruder outside. The moment hung suspended, tense, dangerous, and filled with a flicker of hope. Lara tightened her grip on David's hand. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Lara's heart pounded as she and David huddled in the dimly lit room, the air thick with tension. The crash from the hidden door still echoed in her ears, a reminder that danger was only a heartbeat away. Outside, the intruder moved, searching, patient, and relentless. Lara gripped David's hand tighter, her fingers trembling, but her resolve unwavering. They had survived the first confrontation. She knew this was only the beginning. David whispered urgently, "We need to get out. They'll find us if we stay here." There's a back passage behind the wall panel. Lara's eyes darted toward the far corner, where the faint outline of a concealed doorway shimmered under the dim light. With David's guidance, she pushed it open. A narrow tunnel revealed itself. Dust and cobwebs thick in the air. The scent of damp earth made her stomach twist, but she forced herself to move forward. Every step echoed softly, a reminder of the danger behind them. Halfway down the tunnel, Lara paused. "David, why didn't you tell me everything before?" she asked, voice quivering. "I almost ruined us." He cut her off gently, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You had no way of knowing. I was protecting you from them, from the truth, from a past that could have destroyed everything. Your mistake." "It wasn't just a mistake. It was a wake-up call. Now you see the stakes." Hope surged in Lara's chest despite the fear. He hadn't blamed her completely. He had trusted her enough to let her help him now. That small flicker of trust was enough to push her forward. The tunnel ended in an overgrown backyard, moonlight spilling across cracked stones. For a brief moment, relief washed over her. Freedom was within reach. But then she froze. A shadow detached itself from the trees. The intruder? The one from David's past. The malicious smile twisted across their face, reflecting moonlight like steel. "You really thought you could run?" The figure sneered. David stepped in front of Lara, protective, defiant. "You underestimated us," he said. The intruder laughed softly, almost a hiss. "Underestimate? No, I've been waiting for this moment. And you, both of you, just walked right into it." Lara's mind raced. The photograph, the diary, the letters, they had been warnings all along. And now, the final confrontation was here. The danger was immediate, real, and terrifying. But through it all, hope clung to her heart. She had learned to trust her instincts, to rely on David, to face the consequences of her mistakes. Then, just as the intruder lunged, a sudden, blinding light cut across the yard. Tires screeched. The intruder faltered, shielding their eyes. Lara and David instinctively ducked behind a low wall, hearts hammering. In the chaos, the figure disappeared into the shadows, but the threat remained, lingering like smoke in the night. Lara exhaled shakily, her grip on David's hand tight. "Are we safe?" she whispered. David shook his head slowly. "Not yet, but we're still alive, and we'll fight together." She nodded, a shiver running down her spine. Despite the fear, despite the danger, a spark of hope burned brighter than ever. They had survived the first strike, but the enemy was still out there, watching, waiting, planning. The photograph, the messages, the hidden symbols, they were part of a larger game they hadn't fully understood yet, as they looked toward the dark horizon. A faint glow appeared on the edge of the forest, a signal, a sign that someone else knew the secret, someone who might help, or betray them. Lara's breath caught. David's hand tightened around hers. They had escaped one trap, but the war was far from over. The truth was still out there, the danger still real, the stakes higher than ever. Somewhere in the shadows a voice whispered, "Carried on the wind. One mistake can change everything, and you've already begun the countdown." Lara swallowed hard. Hope, fear, and determination coiled together. And she knew only one thing for certain: their story was far from over. The night held its secrets tightly. The next move could decide everything.